the Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited. That's right, brothers and sisters. Hebrew and Bible Academy, you are invited. I'm Elder Ricard Shiar, the Gathering of Christ Church, here with our weekly Patreon update. That's right. That's right. Thank you for all the loyal Patreonies who have continually supported the church. And guess what? Today's Patreon will not disappoint, okay? Brothers and sisters, I had to jump right into this. No music, no icebreakers, no nothing. We need to talk, okay? And I'm going to have a more, I would say, unfiltered, uncensored conversation after transitioning over into Patreon. Okay, if you want to be a part of this, Patreon/AGathering144. Come join in. The price is minimal. It's only, $5 a month, whatever the case is. And there we can have the conversations and the discussions that, a little bit more free when it comes to being able to discuss or talk about certain subjects, such as this one today. Man, there's so much to unpack, but first and foremost, I would like to say hello to you all. Okay, all praises be to the Most High in the name of Christ, through the Holy Spirit. I thank Him for giving us another opportunity to allow me and the church to come before you as we divulge on, the end times cataclysm between light and darkness. We're here. The darkness can no longer be hid. And this is why I said, you know what? Let me jump right into this while it's fresh in my mind. Before I jump into this, shalom. Hello to all of you throughout the earth. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Okay? All right. All right, shalom. Now, real quick, we're going to be talking about this synagogue scenario in New York, okay? We're going to be talking about that because I think there's more to this than probably the media would cover, all right? I don't think this is anything that we should sweep under the rug, I believe it or not, it's the most important particular news reveal to date when it comes to there were some Orthodox Jews found digging a tunnel in Brooklyn, New York. All right. And they're covering this, but I don't believe they're covering this to the extent they should be covering it. For those who missed this, because I'm going to tie a few things together. For those who missed this, here's a 55-second, and this is all fair use for educational and religious purposes only. And I need to emphasize that because we're in a what? We're in a spiritual war. Okay. And we need to figure out what side or what team any particular group that claims to believe in God, we have to figure out which team they play for. Knowing, brothers and sisters, according to Christ and the Bible, there's only two masters. Okay, so there's no in-between religion. Okay, there's no in-between when it comes to any religion. Either you're dealing with God and Christ according to the morals and values established under that God, which is the God who created all we see, or you're worshiping Satan. All right. So for those who missed this and don't know what I'm talking about, a few days ago, there was a big reveal in New York, okay, where they found in an what you would call Orthodox or Hasidic area, a tunnel that was digged between a synagogue and an old closed woman's bathhouse, right? This is what we know so far. But we're gonna dig deeper into this so to realize whether or not, is this a threat to our society? Is what we're witnessing protected under religious rights? And if so, if you can do something religiously that's against the laws of the land, how do we resolve that? Well, I hope to help brothers and sisters with this today, right? Fair use for educational purposes only. Let's roll it. It reads, when a group of Orthodox men tried to stop police and construction crews from filing in a secretive tunnel they illegally dug there to reach a what? Look at it. To reach a shuttered women's ritual bath. So we understand that if it's a ritual bath they're going into, this is something religious or ritualistic. So they're telling us that they're digging into an old women's bathhouse, a ritualistic bathhouse. So what type of rituals were done in that bathhouse, and how is that connected to these people here? And should we be alarmed? Videos posted online from the synagogue showed the rebellious men, okay, mostly in their teens and early 20s, tearing down the wood paneling on January 8th. Boy, have this so-called New Year started according to their New Year. Have this year started with a boom or what? This so-called Saturnalia New Year. And if this is how this so-called year begins, Lord, are we in for a serious year? Other footage later from the temple on Eastern Parkway showed cops trying to hold back dozens of Hasidic Jewish men. Now, dozens of them trying to hold them back. Now, I hate to have seen, let me tell you, I wonder what would have happened if this would have been a room full of black Christians. I mean, suppose this was Israelites who are claiming their true origin as Israelites, and they had a tunnel being dug somewhere. And suppose Kyrie Irving came in to actually gather with some of those men. I wonder how the media would actually cover this story. If this was black people or Israelites, don't you think that right now this would have broken the internet? That this would have been rolled on every mainstream coverage known to man, not just within the United States, but internationally. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, whether it be the liberal side or the conservative side, there'll be no other coverage on TV right now. I'll tell you, this would have high numbers up there during the time of so-called COVID. If it was our people. Can you imagine the coverage? Why didn't the government get in front of this? Is Homeland Security involved? Right? How did we allow them to teach on the street so long and realize that they would actually deal with some undercover religious type of activity that threatens the future of our democracy? Can you imagine the coverage if this was a religion predominantly of black people claiming to be Jews? As they push their way into the 20-foot wide enclosure underneath the women's section. Let me go back there. So you notice they're just doing flash reports. So to claim before the world that it was covered. But my question is, when the next big event happens, whatever that is in the earth, are we going to ignore what we're witnessing here? Will this be swept under the rug is a question. New York Post, they covered it, right? Now, one thing that I can say for sure, right, that's I would say revealing to some degree when it comes to things like this. I'm just glad we're at a point within this awakening where they could no longer claim a few bad apples. Usually when something like this, a serious story, and I have a 3-minute video that we're going to cover in a moment, that usually they can actually pawn something off by claiming, well, we know that this looks bad, but it's only a few bad apples. Well, I'll tell you what we're witnessing right here totally decimate that idea that it's a few bad apples. Is what we're witnessing an age-old religious practice exposed? And if it's religious and it's against the law, how are we to deal with this? Now, what brothers and sisters don't know is that there's different factions within Judaism. You got the Orthodox, you have Zionism, you have different factions. This is not to say that every level of practice when it comes to Judaism is related to this. But if this exists, and at the same time there's a political protection over this, right? I don't believe that we're at a position now in the earth and where we are now to just pawn this off as another story and ignore it when another headline comes through. What say you? Right? Now, the point that I want to make before I show the next 3 minutes, because they're flashing this story without giving it its proper coverage. Like, I would think the media would be more so, fair in its journalistic power, right? If we see this gain as much traction and notoriety around the world, right? the same notoriety around the world with Kyrie favoriting a tweet. If this got at least that amount of coverage, I would say there's fairness when it comes to, that's right, revealing religious threats that could erode a society. Right? So we're going to talk about this. Now, outside of them, brothers and sisters, I have a question for you all. Christians, what do you have to say about this, those who believe in Christ? Well, let me ask you these questions. What have we been integrated or infiltrated into? I'm speaking of our people. And I'm going to give you an example or talk about why I pose that particular question. What have we been integrated or infiltrated into? Because for years growing up as a Christian, my father came from the Christian South. That's right. We have a long line of shepherds that we can trace our lineage from Virginia going directly to slave ships. Okay, my foreparents worked chattel slavery and helped build this country. Okay? But we were always told, brothers and sisters, my father used to say when they were growing up, don't forget, folks, my father was living in a house where it was built by his own family. The shack houses, and I don't know if y'all remember this, where there were, in Virginia, outhouses still out in the back. Right? My father and his brothers had stories of them having to go into the cold and had to check the outhouses to make sure there was no snakes when they had to use the bathroom. Okay, so that's how far. We're talking about the 40s. My father was born in 1938. The 40s, 50s, where they were using an outhouse. And my father and even my grandfather, may the Most High rest both of their souls, hope to see him again, would have detailed stories of where their parents would tell them, do not go across the tracks. Do not go across the tracks because there's something else over there. Weird type of practices, ritualistic practices under the guise of religion. Okay? So it wasn't about, as simple as it is today, well, you're not supposed to deal with those white girls and stuff like that. It wasn't. See, the surface and liberal media would have us believe it's talking about stopping interracial connections and marriage and all that. That was the stories they wanted us to talk about. But if you were to, don't forget, folks, I was coming up in a time where there was one major TV in the house, a big TV with a component set connected to it. And we would be around the TV, right? And then eat dinner. The television would shut off with the national anthem at 12 midnight. There was no TV. So the majority of the time when we would sit around looking at TV and or conversating, because that was our connecting point, I would hear these stories. My grandmother and grandfather saying that, listen, don't believe what they're talking about when it comes to claiming that black men were being hung in the South strictly because they were racist white people hanging people. Say, don't believe that. The burning of crosses, the hanging of people. My grandparents told us this was all ritualistic. This was ritualistic. This was connected to a belief, a satanic understanding on the other side of the tracks, a fraternity that were seeking to sacrifice our people, thinking that there was something pure and strong in our blood. our churches on this side of the track weren't like their churches. Our preachers didn't go across the track to interact with their Christian preachers. They had an entirely different understanding. There was a religious sacrifice component to what was over the tracks, and it was covered up with just being mere racism. White people don't like black people, and they started running with that story without telling us that we were up against something darker than anything that our people who believed in God out of chattel slavery could conceive. Okay? And I believe that when we integrated into that civil rights thing, we allow those tracks that kept the dark side from the righteous people, we allow those tracks to disappear, where they could actually come in and have access that they would have never been able to have access to before civil rights. Listen to what I'm telling you. If we don't hear about a serious public trial before the world concerning what this tunnel right now, right? We could only assume that there's some type of religious protection and that whatever's going on here has always been known probably, and it's a necessity amongst that religious sect. Christians, I need y'all to hear this. Should we now look into the liberal agendas that led to these Satanists getting access to our children under the guise of helping the underprivileged? Should we now look into this? How through integration now, we have a high level of mental illness in all this, the destruction of our children, the young men fighting back within the institutions called school, knowing that they're being singled out and attacked under a system unbeknownst to themselves as children. Should we now look at when they began to adopt our children and look into their religious or moral persuasion that could link directly to the dark side? Another thing, you Christians in particular, what we're witnessing here, is this the reason Christ came and beat them out of the temple? Was it just about selling in the temple, folks? Or was there an attachment to a Moloch sacrifice, folks, that was attached also, listen, to a what? To a financial district. Because you need finances to exercise the Moloch entity or component within the religion. Listen to me and listen. Is this what Christ was fighting against? A financial fueling of what? An ancient Canaanite ritual? Where in exchange for power, innocent blood must be sacrificed. Now, that's not my opinion, because we're going to talk about it. Listen, I'm not even going to Blog Talk to talk about this. We're going on the other side, and I'm going to pull up Zoom, because I believe this thing, no way should this be covered up, folks. Christians, was Christ fighting for us? Knowing the dark cults that was associated with the Pharisee and scribes. These are just questions. Is this the reason that there's certain religions that hate Christ till this day? Because he was exposing their secret cult. Well, where are we at? The Jewish Virtual Library. Ancient Jewish history, the cult of Moloch. An ancient Canaanite. Now they talk about this, the history within the precepts of the Old Testament, that outside of the religious side, the righteous side of Moses, the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that there was a secret cult of priests who were connected directly to child sacrifice. And you can read this on the Jewish Virtual Library. Right? I'm just putting something out there. Have that particular cult throughout time, has it been protected by the elite powers? Right? And is it a necessity when it comes to Moloch and sacrifice for certain people or groups religiously? Is it a requirement as far as the Moloch sacrifice for them to stay in power? Unfortunately, if it is, children, there's no children safe anywhere. It's to target the children. It's to destabilize the adults, so to get to the children. That's an ancient adage directly from ancient Canaanite Moloch child sacrifice. You must destabilize the family to get to the child. The child becomes an orphan or a priest or priestesses that can be used to actually facilitate what? The sacrifice between the priesthood, the dark side. Okay? And what they need more so than anything is children who are pure and or believe in Christ. And that leads us to right here. There's certain things I can't talk about, but we're going to now look at this. 3 minutes. Fair use. Hold on, let me move the fair use so you all can read the caption. Fair use for education and religious purposes only. Let me state this emphatically, that if you believe in Christ, you understand that there's dark forces which operates, no pun intended, underground against the righteous, the people of light. And the only way to oppose the evil that we're witnessing in this earth, folks, is to come under code with one another. We must choose the light side. And I'm going to say this. You cannot win against the dark side operating under witchcraft, sorcery, orishas, African spirituality, because you're not willing to do what it takes to be on top on the dark side. You'll become nothing more than little soldiers to be utilized by proxy by these powers to destroy our communities, to destroy our children. Understand, if you're dealing with tarot cards, astrology, witchcraft, you're on the lower level of the dark side. And you can be utilized as pawns by those who deal with dense darkness, because you're not willing to sacrifice your morals to that degree, to the degree of those who are a part of the satanic Moloch fraternity. All right, let me move this so you can see it. A secret tunnel was uncovered underneath the Jewish synagogue. One of the world's largest Hasidic groups, located in Brooklyn. Now, what are we seeing here, folks? We're seeing these are children beds here. The beds that are being moved because they're trying to, listen, they're not covering this to the extent it should be covered. These are children beds behind the walls of this particular tunnel. Children beds. I'm going to read this because they'll just flash through it so to say that at least it was covered. It says agitators within the movement trying to connect to what? Headquarters to a nearby building. It was found when local homeowners heard tunneling beneath the building. Video shows some members of the synagogue opening the tunnel. Before others brawled with police and when they came to shut it down. 10 men were arrested. Arrested? Engineers tried to fill the tunnels in. Now, you had a few people that were standing before the police. Engineers came with cement to fill in the temples, right? So one would have thought that these people who didn't know that this tunnel existed would have just stayed back, sat back, and allow the tunnel to actually be filled with cement, right? No. Instead of standing on the side of justice, what happens?
Wie so da? Dem ganzen Käse.
יאללה מנחם! קוצ'יק, מה אתה חושב על זה? יש שם קפה? אז אחלה, אם לקפה אני לא. עוד אחד. יש לו קפה. יש לו קפה מזוזה. Oh, man. וואי, ישיבה. יואו. Hey, you're playing! Oh, no. How was it?
Mas medin kapil. Ha? Ako ning saim ko la pelin siya la pil.
Now, let me show you this also, okay? I'm going to go into it more so on the other side so I can discuss this, brothers and sisters, with you all in detail, right? But what I wanted to show in particular here, right? What I wanted to show you here, right? Fair use. Crawling out of holes. A woman's ritual bath. Now, there's also videos, brothers and sisters, that I'm going to show on the other side, showing bloody mattresses, right? Small little bloody mattresses, right? And now the forensics have come back, and yes, there's blood on the mattress, and on top of that, blood on the mattress. And on top of that, outside of that, it shows them taking high chairs for toddlers or babies from behind the wall too, right? So we have to ask a question: what exactly is behind these tunnels, right? And I'm going to show that on the other side. What I have to say about this is, years ago, sometimes these stories pop up, then they disappear as if nothing happened. 2009, Orthodox. There was a big what? Child, EPAR spelled backwards. EPAR spelled backwards ring connected to Hasidic Orthodox groups in North Jersey. The story went away. And yet it appears again, almost the same exact story with a tunnel connected to an old woman's ritual, a women's ritual bathhouse. And when they went behind, they seen mattresses with blood on it, high chairs, and all types of stuff going on. I mean, I need to think about this. And I think through code, Michael Jackson and others tried to tell us that there's something going on. Annie, are you okay? He says, as I went into the bedroom, it was struck down. It was her doom. And it says, and then he says something about, Annie, are you okay? Can I tell? Matter of fact, let me pull this up. Smooth Criminal. Let me pull. Check this out. Smooth Criminal lyrics. Been so long. Right? Look at this. What was Michael Jackson trying to tell us? And as he came into the window, it was a sound of a crescendo. He came into her apartment. He left blood stains on the carpet. He left bloodstains on the carpet. She ran underneath the table. He could see she was unable. So she ran into the bedroom. She was struck down. It was her doom. Annie, are you okay? Folks, there should have been an investigation after this song. What's going on in weird Hollywood and others and all of that? And then it says you've been struck by a smooth criminal. And at the end of it, you see the armies coming in as if he's telling you these are also connected to not just sacrifice of children, but wars all over the world. Annie, are you okay? Annie, are you okay? Annie, are you okay, Annie? Right? You've been struck by a smooth criminal. A smooth criminal. Mike was speaking in code of, I believe, some of the things he knew was happening ritualistically. Don't forget, he was best friends with one of the top witches of his time. Elizabeth Taylor was a known dark occultist. Last but not least, folks, I'm not even going to deal because why? Our people been under duress for a long time. I remember growing up when they were showing in Atlanta all of our children who were going missing. There was this thing they were talking about where there was behind every milk carton, they were showing more and more children missing. And they'll make us believe that it's some rogue individuals, some bad apples, some crazies without letting us know what my grandparents and father told us a long time ago. You are not to cross the tracks. There's a darkness religiously when it comes to them getting hold of our people. And now, since integration, they have set it up where they can have easily access to what they used to have to fight for to get. Pure blood of the righteous, the pure blood of the children of Israel. Now they can get your children under the guise of underprivileged. Let me go and adopt a child in Africa. And this is why they have done what? Fair use. I don't usually give out this much, but I'm going into it on the other side of Patreon. We're going to talk about it. Right? Why all of a sudden we're getting these talentless people to represent us, who now represent us in the music and entertainment? Let me move this out of the way. There's no true following for Sexy Red, folks, or Nas X. But listen to what this lady going to tell us about who's behind Sexy Red to make sure that she get awards and hip hop awards and others. It states Sexy Red execs targeting African American children. Because why? The system now can get more access to the children if you can program the people within the parents to become what? Irresponsible. And automatically the state can get access to children.
Here is a new blind item that is allegedly about Sexy Red. As part of the deal, the executive was required to create music that would target and influence
Hold on, let me get it again.
children. That's why here is a new blind item that is allegedly about Sexy Red. As part of the deal, the executive was required to create music that would target and influence African American culture, specifically children. That's why this sexy artist has become a star overnight. Follow the money, and it will lead you to an investment group with its hands in banking, politics, and entertainment. They're spending millions on her message. And again, this is allegedly Sexy Red. And this first related headline reads, "Is Sexy Red the most outrageous new voice in rap?" This next related headline reads, "Sexy Red records herself driving 130 miles per hour while pregnant." And this third related headline ties it back to the alleged investment group. With Gamma, Larry Jackson is putting $1 billion to work for Black culture. In February, TikTok's 1 billion plus users received an unexpected gift for Valentine's Day: exclusive access to the catalog of one of hip hop's most revered labels, Death Row Records. Snoop Dogg had purchased the catalog in 2022 and pulled it from streaming services, so the only place to hear the tracks from Snoop's classic Doggy Style or Tupac's 10 times platinum All Eyes on Me was TikTok. Their partnership, as unusual as it was savvy, was the handiwork of veteran music executive Larry Jackson, 42, who seized the attention of the industry this year when he launched his entertainment company Gamma. Backed by $1 billion in financing and focused on putting that capital to work in particular and acutely on Black culture, Jackson has created a deep-pocketed alternative to the major labels.
Look at that. A systematic way for them to get their hands on the children of Israel during the time of the awakening, using the industry as a conduit to get to the minds of our children. Folks, civil rights at its best. Have we been infiltrated? They've erased the tracks that once separated our people who believed in God from their fraternities who sacrificed to Satan. Is there a connection? Last but not least, let me state this before going over. I'm going to go into a 1933 mock sacrifice that's been hid from the public. And this is real. I'm going to show you all this on the other side. We're in a religious war. We're in a spiritual war, folks. And imagine, you have to have your religious research down to understand what's going on here, folks. The Canaanite religion under Moloch, that's right, folks, required child sacrifice. And when you look up the star of Moloch, what symbol comes up? When you look up the star of Moloch, what symbol comes up? 666, the mark of a man. Hence, they would make their stars, and this is where they would sacrifice their children in the center of ritualistically. Amos 5:26, but ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch and chewing your images, the star of your God. Our Bible been warning us about an infiltration, a satanic infiltration for a long time. Even Christ himself, he was exposing the evil. Ye of your father the devil, St. John 8:44. The lust of your father ye will do. You were a murderer from the beginning, and the truth is not in you. And then Christ showed John on the Isle of Patmos and say, listen, you got to watch out. This is the future coming against our people. He know our tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Revelations 2:9, Christ read, and he says, I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Christ was trying to tip us off the whole time. And at the same time, he told the disciples, allow the children to come unto me, because unto them is the kingdom of heaven. He was warning, he was telling the disciples, protect my children at all costs, because it's through them the kingdom come. Through the mouth of babes I will speak to my people, and hence the reason the dark side under Moloch have targeted the young. Now that they can no longer deceive and lie through false history, they're seeking to come right at the next generation under the sacrifice. Last but not least, the only thing we can do is pray and understand that we've been infiltrated through civil rights. Civil rights was a straight Trojan horse to get in so that they can now push liberal agendas in our schools, biomedical scenarios in our school, and all of that in our schools funded federally. So don't think that what we're seeing in our communities, which is the total replacement of our people, do not believe that this is just by chance. This was strategic, and it went down right after during the civil rights movement when they were infiltrated. They infiltrated into us through feminism. Okay? And they came under the level of claiming they care for the rights of our people and all of that. And our people being so trusting, open the doors wide open for our children to be destroyed. Right? Years ago, I knew something was up. Right? I'm going to show you all this. Years ago. Now, this is New York Post, folks, reputable mainstream sites, mainstream news. This was in 2016. I knew something was up because brothers and sisters was telling me something weird was going on in parts of Newark, New Jersey and all that, where it says towns restrict door-to-door solicitation amid Hasidic influx, where they were knocking on doors from door to door saying, we'll pay cash for your house. 2016. Well, folks, guess what? When the earth shut down through the sickness, guess what happened? A lot of these houses went up and were purchased. And for some strange reason, some people who didn't want to sell their house are no longer with us. You know, maybe it's the choice they made. I'm not sure. But I believe to some degree this regenification that we see, our people disappearing right before you, isn't by chance. It's ritualistic. And the only way to actually escape the darkness that have come to our side is to stand on the truth of Christ. And those who believe must come together on code with one another. If you're on the dark side, if you're dealing with African spirituality, if you're dealing with witchcraft, astrology, if you're dealing with any level of evil, regardless of whether or not it's benefiting you temporally, you might as well stand with those on the dark side. And by doing so, be judged with them. With that, there's so much I want to talk about that I can't talk about right here. I'm just reporting the news, but I'm giving you a biblical perspective are we witnessing a Canaanite old ritual exposed with these tunnels? I'm going to leave that up to you to decide. But we're going to go in depth, pull up Zoom, and talk about it on the other side. Because guess what, folks? Any community that we once had as the children of Israel after civil rights no longer exists. It's over. We have no community. What we have is what? We have one big ritual where now the powers that be, that's right, have access to your children. One big Moloch ritual. This is what civil rights sold our people into. Shalom. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow for the Sabbath. Shabbat Shalom. And we're going to talk about these tunnels on the other side. Go to Patreon.com/AGathering144. 1 hour. Let's talk about it. And keep in mind that the Most High is calling back the children of Israel. We're the children of Israel in the name of Christ, and we're back. Man, Mike tried to tell us. Annie, are you okay? Shalom.
The East is where we're from. The 12 tribes of Israel. In 721 BC, the Assyrian king, he took us down, we fell. With a great escape we went through the Euphrates. The Lord held the water still. To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went. The 12 tribes of Israel. That's who we be, Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulun from Panama, Gad, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominicans. Our highest gathering is right.